how you doing this week?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well, too. I'm basking in the afterglow of the Democratic debate on Thursday night. I'm sure you watched and enjoy every second of it.
This was actually one of the more entertaining ones, I thought. I kind of like them one-on-one.
Oh, well, the one-on-ones are definitely a lot better than the group efforts. And while there were some highlights, I thought what kind of was telling more than anything else was kind of the building throughout of the fact that Hillary Clinton just really, really wasn't going after Barack Obama like she needed to. And then, of course, there was her line at the end that she's getting heat for in the blogosphere today for parroting Edwards. But I think I agree kind of more with my former colleagues Chuck Todd and Mark Amater that both her refusal to kind of go after Barack and that last line, for me, really signaled that she knows it's over and she's really looking ahead to the next campaign already.
You know, it's very possible. There are a lot of times, not just in this race, but in I think in 2004, where I had thought a lack of aggressiveness in a debate was telling. But often campaigns realize that, hitting folks in broad daylight isn't always the best way to be aggressive. And you want to often do it with surrogates and with direct mail and all that sort of thing. So I wouldn't go that far to say that was the signal that she's throwing in the towel. But it does show she hasn't figured out yet what needs to be done to make this race about something else. She's thrown a lot of things at Obama at this point already. They've tried a lot of avenues. They've tried a lot of lines of attack, and nothing has changed the storyline. And certainly nothing happened in the debate that changed it.
Right. Well, the other kind of major news from last night was Open Left's Chris Bowers picked up on this, that she did kind of promise not to make the convention a superdelegate fight, and that she did pledge not to let the superdelegates decide it. So she seems to be, willingly boxing herself in to the idea that if she loses, either Texas, Pennsylvania, or Ohio, that she's done, and that she knows that she's not. I would take that
at face value. Look at reporting at Talking Points memo today. I think it was Greg Sargent. What he's reporting what Clinton operatives are privately telling Clinton donors to soothe them and make sure that they know that they're
well, of course, that pitch is going to be a little bit different.
Right. So, they're telling donors apparently that they're trying to win, they think they can win Ohio and Texas well enough, they can cut the delegate margin and keep it close enough that they can make a play at the convention. If that's the strategy, that involves superdelegates. And, of course, Clinton is still talking about, and they're still talking about, both publicly and privately, making Florida and Michigan relevant as far as what happened there in races where Obama didn't even campaign, based on DNC rules. So, again, what happens in the debate, you can only take so far, because there are other aspects to the campaign that are happening in a more quiet way.
Yeah, but, if you're going to look for, the truth value coming out of something said in a public debate and something made in private calls to donors as part of a sales pitch, I'm going to go ahead and put a lower truth value in those, what's being said to pitch those donors than in what she's signaling in a public forum.
Well, it does raise a possibility in my mind that, and this would feed into a throwing in the towel narrative, and this is 100% speculation on my part. There are reports that the campaign's in debt, even though she's not taking out more loans. She owes vendors money. And staying in the race would be a way to continue raising money in hopes of retiring that debt, because it's much harder to retire a debt once a campaign is over, although it's not unheard of. So
she's going to be, if she loses the fight, she's going to be the next Ted Kennedy in the party. She's going to be, she's in Pat Moynihan's seat. She's going to be in New York. She's not going to have any trouble raising money and retiring that debt. She's going to be there for years. People are going to come and write her checks forever. I don't think she'd prolong the agony just to retire debt. She can retire that fundraising in her Senate seat.
That is a fair point. And there's some talk in the blogosphere what else she could be doing. What graceful outs are there for? For example, on BuzzFlash, the editor there talked about Supreme Court Justice Hillary Clinton, and I've heard her talk about Senate Majority Leader Hillary Clinton.
No, that's Dodd's role. Remember?
They can rotate, but there's definitely some buzz in the blogosphere about graceful ways for her to step aside and still play a role, play a prominent role in the direction of the government without having this be dragged out and bloodied, particularly when the probability that she could wrest the nomination away at this point seems very small.
Yeah, I'm not seeing kind of any of those roles. I'm thinking more of a stately kind of Pat Moynihan, Ted Kennedy, patriarch of the party type role for her in that Senate seat. I definitely don't think Obama will put her on the Supreme Court, and I don't think she'd want to go ahead and fight for the majority leader position, especially under a President Obama.
It's all speculation. Who knows what's really in her head and what's really. But
I will say that the idea that politicians need an out is definitely true. And if I was in Obama's camp, I would like the rest of the bloggers trying to find a graceful out for her. I just don't think one's going to be found. I think there's for a while there's going to be some acrimony between the Clinton camp and the Democratic Party for a while.
I noticed an interesting development in the conservative blogosphere after this debate. A lot of conservative bloggers, I think the conservative movement in general, they have their script down on how to talk about Clinton.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for years, if not a decade at this point, and how they approach a nominee Obama, they don't seem to have that mastered yet, and they're sort of working that out. You see some first drafts, say, from Karl Rove in the Wall Street Journal, talking about, inexperience and massive turn to the left and all that sort of stuff. And it feels a little played and tired, if you ask me. But there are some tried and true things that bloggers seem to instinctually do. And there's one example out of the debate when Obama talked about a captain in the military who was essentially, undersupplied in Afghanistan, and trying to poke holes in anecdotes seems to be the kind of thing that conservative bloggers love to do, but it often is a shoot first and ask questions later strategy. And in this case,
isn't blogging always a shoot first and ask questions later medium?
I don't think it is often. I have to say, in all due respect, I see that kind of approach more often on the conservative side than the liberal side. Not that it never happens on the liberal side. But there's often kind of a throw a whole bunch of stuff on the wall and see what sticks attitude on the right that I see. And here's a case where you had a lot of bloggers questioning the story, often trying to present themselves as military experts. In some cases, they're military bloggers. Trying to lend that kind of credibility, but the attention prompted Jake Tapper at ABC, who runs a blog there, to contact the captain directly, and his reporting said that the story fully checks out. So, again, it makes me question, or not question, I think it raises the question, how will conservative bloggers handle an Obama when some of their regular tactics don't seem to be panning out very well?
Well, I think there are two separate issues there. One is, they haven't developed, the right themes that they're going to, or any themes that they're going to attack Obama with. But, as far as the specific incident that you mentioned, there was lots of talk on the corner pretty much immediately right after it happened. And, if you go back and look at some of the early posts, I don't think it's that irresponsible. What you have is the people at the corner saying, this sounds fishy to us. Let's contact let's see if we can get our mil blogger guys, people who do have military experience, bloggers who are in the military now or who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and see if this story does sound plausible to them, which is exactly what happened. And you had a Black 5 emailer email into the corner say, you know what, actually this could sound about right. Then you had another guy flopping aces say, no, this is entirely wrong. And then later on the corner, Catherine Lopez linked to that Tapper blog post that you talked about, and the story ended there. So, it's just one of those things where something sounded fishy. The blogosphere is a running medium where people beg for information all the time. And I think you saw a call out. It was like, hey, this story sounds weird. For those of you in the conservative blogosphere with military experience, could you tell us what you know about this? And people did. And after the Tapper investigation, the story's closed.
Well, what does it say about those conservative mill bloggers? And as you say, this is not to criticize all mill bloggers, but those who were adamant and definitive in saying this cannot be true when it turns out that it is true. What does that say about their ability to raise their credibility level by calling themselves a mill blogger?
Well, I think it's unavoidable when you look at that and you look at what Flopping Aces wrote and was like, yes, this story is definitely wrong, etc., etc. He definitely looks less credible than Black 5, who said, no, the story could check out. So, I mean, is there a pundit accountability project? No, but
there should be.
There should be, but for studied readers of the blogosphere, people generally know it's like, okay, that guy got this one right and that guy didn't. And when you look at the rest of the people at the corner, it wasn't like the Stephen Spurriels and Catherine Lopez of the world were saying we got the story nailed. It was instead, this sounds fishy. What do people know?
Do you think perhaps that conservative bloggers might be saying to themselves, maybe an Obama campaign is proving professional enough, even though people are trying to tag him as a rookie and a novice, but certainly the way he has carried himself seems to be very professional. That kind of shoot first, ask questions later mentality just isn't going to work with this guy.
No, I don't think they're dissuaded by that at all. I mean, there was no Obama angle to this story other than Tapper doing some reporting, although I'm sure he just made a call to the Obama campaign and they set him up with the proper captain. But no, I mean, no one thinks Obama is Teflon. I think conservatives are just kind of waiting for the media to develop their own storylines. I was watching Conan O'Brien last night, and he had this bit where he played that clip of Barack Obama at a rally where Obama blows his nose and the crowd goes wild. And, Conan, of course, started making fun of it. Is this really all this guy has to do is blow his nose and his followers go crazy? And so then he played another clip of Obama drinking some water, and this time Conan, sweetened in the applause line. And so I think you will start seeing, a theme develop of, Obama has a bunch of, cult-like followers, and I think you're going to get that some play. I mean, Slate Magazine has a Messiah Watch for a reason. That artist in Chicago created the Obama Messiah, way back 6-8 months ago for a reason.
Well, you're certainly seeing people trying to push this sort of meme. I have to say, I'm very skeptical that trying to make an argument, people like this guy too much, is going to be a particularly compelling argument come November.
Well, you pair the people like this guy too much argument, with the fact that people are fainting at rallies, with the YouTube of that Texas state senator completely blanking on Obama's accomplishments. Still another idea from Chuck Todd. He said, what Hillary Clinton should be doing is going on the street in Texas and just pulling random Obama supporters off into interviews and just doing Jay Leno type what has Obama done, why you support him, and just show kind of how little these people actually know about Obama. So I think there's definitely tons of yardage there to be had.
In 1988, the Dukakis campaign ran a series of ads portraying Bush's handlers to try to make Bush appear to be a packaged candidate. And I believe it was in the Newsweek book, Quest for the Presidency. I could be wrong about that. But memory serves, Roger Ailes, now heads Fox News, who was on the Bush campaign, laughed at the fact that they were attacking him, essentially, and not attacking the candidate directly, and thought how pathetic that was. I would think that a campaign based on attacking a candidate's supporters instead of going after the candidate directly would be even more pathetic. Especially when you can ask the candidate himself, what are your accomplishments, and ask the campaign's main aides, and they will tick off a fairly substantial list without blinking. The fact that certain supporters, can't do these things at the drop of a hat, you can probably say that about any candidate in any campaign in all of the country.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to suggest that that'll be the main line of attack. I mean, you have, columnist over at Reason has an article up, looking at how leftist Obama's policies actually are, and that gave tentative Obama supporter Megan McCardle some pause, and you have people looking at Obama's record, whether it's on health care, global warming, etc., seeing just how leftist this guy is, and I think you will see a much more substance-based attack on Obama. I mean, look at last night. I thought the Iraq discussion was just classic in that, John King asks them, is the surge working? And Hillary is just hamstrung in attacking Obama on this and any grounds because of her, 2002 vote in which she's on the wrong side of it in a Democratic primary, and then she's on the same side as Obama on, saying the surge wasn't going to work. John McCain's not going to have that problem. John McCain's going to say, look, we don't have a time machine. We can't go back and relitigate this 2002 issue. And I was right about the surge, and you were wrong, and you need to admit it. That's an attack that, Hillary Clinton can't make, and that's an attack that conservatives, when we get to the general, will be making often. Hillary has just been hamstrung, whether it's, health care, the fact that their substantive records are so similar, and that's what everyone talks about, is that when you get down to the policies, Hillary and Obama are very similar. That really kind of preempts any substantive attack Obama. So we really haven't seen any attack on Obama on the policy. But of course, when we get to the general, that's not going to be the case anymore.
I think that's completely right, and I think it's a very exciting prospect. I think we're going to have a clear, philosophical, substantive contrast that's going to play out explicitly for the first time in recent memory. We've had for a while, and
it's going to be acrimonious because John McCain really doesn't like Obama.
And John McCain's not very good at hiding.
Right.
His
from both the immigration debate and there was some other issue. They've had two run-ins in the Senate, and both times McCain has come away feeling as though Barack Obama lied to him personally.
I'll leave it to others to judge whether this is going to be a point in McCain's favor or not.
Oh, these were private conversations. No one's going to know when that happens. I'm just telling you what John McCain believes.
Oh, sure.
And my point is that that's going to get rid of any inhibitions he has about going after Obama.
Well, and this is what in Karl Rove's Wall Street Journal op-ed he tried to push. He tried to make this argument that Obama's victory speech in Houston after the Wisconsin primary exposed some massive pivot to the left, which struck me as either foolish or intentionally ignorant, because Obama didn't say anything in that address that he hadn't said in previous appearances.
Well, he did talk up his anti-trade rhetoric more.
But it's not new. He put
a lot of policy pieces together in one speech. It wasn't new, you're right, but it did, increase.
So he was trying to make an argument that Obama was doing so well because he had this empty centrist rhetoric, and all of a sudden he's gone far, far left, and this is going to be his downfall. And Republicans have done very well in several elections, running that kind of strategy. What is untested is, can you run the L-word campaign successfully after 8 years of conservative policies that are considered to be widespread failures by the vast majority of the American people. Now, McCain seems very eager to engage in that debate, and case in point, he is lighting into Obama about his Cuba remarks. I think it's telling that we're not going to have a campaign where the same set of political consultants are going to do the same kind of focus groups, and both campaigns will be using the same sort of buzzwords to try to blur their positions, and the public is confused where they two stand. I think people are going to know exactly where they stand. It's going to be fought out, hopefully fair and square. And I wonder if conservative bloggers have thought about the consequence of running a classic L-word campaign and losing, and what that might do to their movement going forward.
Two things on that. First of all, as far as the idea that people don't know how liberal Obama is. I mean, National Journal did rank him as the most liberal senator the past few years, and I think when you
not that it upsets me, but I think their methodology is
right.
highly suspect.
But my point is that other than withdrawing from Iraq, people like Andrew Sullivan and Matthew Iglesias, have diametrically opposed views on lots of public policy, and yet they're both diehard fans of Barack Obama. One of them, in assessing what Barack Obama would do as president from a substantive public policy perspective, is just flat out wrong. So I think when we get to the general election, you're going to see a lot of primary voters that looked at Obama and said, he's great. A lot of independents and moderates who voted for him in the primary, instead of having a Hillary Clinton who's not going to play up policy differences, so people can look at Obama and just focus on his warm fuzziness, they're going to instead, have clear policy difference to talk about, and those independents and moderates are going to start fluffing off. And I think conservative bloggers are going to play a role in highlighting those differences.
But I've seen some stuff from the corner where people are worried that you could have this clear-cut philosophical contrast, and independents and moderates won't slough off, and that Obama would effectively be the left's version of Ronald Reagan, and fundamentally shift the country ideologically, for a considerable period of time. I've seen that fear expressed in the conservative blogosphere.
Yeah, I think I don't think you're reading the corner close enough. I think there's a short-term acknowledgement that Barack Obama probably is going to win this election, but as far as being a conservative standard bearer to lose an election and that thwart the conservative message forever. John McCain's not that guy. The conservative movement has their problems with John McCain, as we amply covered last time. No one's going to watch John McCain go down in flames and say, "Oh no, this is the end of the conservative movement." Instead, it's going to be a lot more like 1976. Is we have this establishment guy who's fuzzy on a lot of our issues, whether it be today it's immigration, free speech, free market, and global warming. And instead, we need a conservative standard bearer. Now, in 1976, there was an identifiable one in Ronald Reagan, and now, between Romney, Huckabee, and Fred Thompson, there clearly was not a standard bearer this time. But that doesn't change the fact that the movement was very unhappy with Ford in '76, and they're very unhappy with John McCain now. So, I think what a lot of Republicans are hoping, and I saw this article on, not actually in the corner, but it was linked to a National Review article separately, but still on the National Review site, is that a lot of people are playing up the main that this is 1976 all over again, is that you have a corrupted White House that is, with a president that is extremely unpopular. You have a relatively inexperienced, unknown candidate in the Democratic Party who's going to change Washington and bring a whole new culture to Washington and remake the government. And they're thinking he's going to get in office, and between the war, the economy as it's not growing very well, we'll see what his first initiatives are, whether it's healthcare, global warming, whatever. That he's going to have some failures like Jimmy Carter did, and then this will turn into a 1980 campaign of course, which the only ingredient then is missing is the Ronald Reagan figure. But other than that, the 1976
The upshot is when
analogy
Obama
works.
wins, it's not the conservatives' fault.
What?
When Obama wins, in the conservative blogosphere's opinion, it won't be their fault. The excuse has been baked into the cake.
The excuse is John McCain. The excuse is the candidate. We all know they don't like the candidate. So it's hard to say that, it's the movement's fault that they're going to lose when they don't like the candidate at all.
Now, another interesting development this week was the first time we saw the conservative movement almost in total rally to McCain's side over something.
Right, but it definitely was over his side over something and not, defending McCain. Of course, we're talking about the New York Times story. It came out late Wednesday night in the Thursday paper. And it wasn't so much that they even defended McCain on it. In fact, if you looked at and there are two parts that are interesting in the story, is first of all that everyone was waiting to see what Rush Limbaugh would say, and that he didn't wait till he got on his radio show. He emailed the Politico to give him his reaction. But the reaction was a complete attack on the New York Times. And even in that statement, he said, this is what McCain gets, for flirting with him all these years.
But there was sort of an attempt at constructive advice for McCain. Now you know you can't trust your friends in the media.
Right.
Come with us to the dark side.
Right, and that's hardly a defense of
Luke.
McCain. It's more like you need to abandon all this campaign finance reform crap, and which of course is never going to happen. And then we can defend you better. But at the same time, they definitely Michelle Malkin, Laura Ingraham, everyone at the corner, everyone was slamming the Times. But that's maybe second to slamming the Clintons. Slamming the Times is, regular sport in the conservative blogosphere. So
this hasn't changed their general outlook on the campaign, that they've come to terms with McCain being the nominee and saying, yes, we are going to stand by your side when these attacks come in and help you fight them back.
Well, there definitely was some rallying around the flag. Catherine Lopez at the corner was posting these emails from supporters throughout the day saying, I'm in the conservative movement, I'm a loyal corner reader, I never liked John McCain, but after the New York Times story, I went out and bought a bumper sticker and gave McCain $200. And, there were like 3 or 4 of those emails that she posted, so I don't know how flooded her inbox was. But, there definitely was a sense of, our guy's being attacked, we need to attack back. But,
you were on a blogger conference call today.
I was.
Was the tone of the conservative bloggers different this week than in other calls that you've listened in on?
No.
Because of the Times development?
No. He was questioned. There were 2 Washington Post stories today. One on his entire campaign being old lobbyists. 2 on the FEC problems that he has with the FEC. Said he improperly secured this loan, and he was questioned on that. Within the context of don't you think that this shows how silly your campaign finance reforms laws are? And of course he said, no. We need to work within the system. The system is designed to stop people who are abusing it. So that tension is still there between conservative bloggers and John McCain. When you look at Michelle Malkin, on her post about the New York Times stuff, her line was, this is what happens when you lay down with dogs. You get fleas.
Well, I'll say this, though. I don't think that the liberal blogosphere has gotten to the point, and they probably will get there eventually, but I don't think they're there yet, where they are looking for opportunities to defend Obama against what they see as, smears and false attacks. There's still more of a detached approach. I'm overgeneralizing here because there are some blogs that are defending Obama, but I think a lot of highly trafficked ones are still taking somewhat of a bemused detachment of the whole race and focusing more on media criticism in general, and not seeing themselves as wingmen to the Obama campaign.
Yeah,
whereas you did see that, I think, in the conservative blogosphere this week with this New York Times story on McCain.
Yeah, but whenever Fox News says Obama Osama, or says Obama and puts up a picture of Osama instead, the entire liberal blogosphere immediately, comes crashing down upon Fox and says they're terrible, et cetera, et cetera. And this is the same thing on the right.
That's because they hate Fox.
And that's what I'm saying is the same case here. That's because conservatives hate the New York Times. So we introduced this. It was, this is par for the course for conservatives. This is just another excuse to beat up the Times. It has a lot less to do with the current target and a lot more to do, the current target being McCain, and a lot more to do with the New York Times.
Excellent point.
Well, we're at the 30-minute mark. I guess I could, go over some more issues that were covered in the blogger call, but there really wasn't much other than there was McCain hit on Raul Castro. That was what he kicked off with, and he said Raul was the bad guy in the brother duo, and James Joyner outside the Beltway pushed back and said the embargo hasn't been working. Cuba's government hasn't changed in his lifetime, and we should do something else. And McCain, again, very stubborn, said, the embargo is working. Cuba is not exporting their revolution, and he's not changing his position, and he's going to keep hammering Obama on that.
So there's not unanimity in the conservative blogosphere on the Cuba issue?
Well, the conservative blogosphere definitely has its more libertarian nodes, and outside the Beltway is one of them. So I would say that his position on Cuba is in the minority, but it's definitely a not small minority within the conservative blogosphere, but definitely the minority. The last part I thought was interesting was when McCain talked about Obama and Hillary's response on the surge, and basically, somebody asked him what he thought about their refusal to acknowledge that the surge was working, and McCain said he was disappointed but not astonished. And the more part I thought was interesting is that he said he did not expect them to apologize for being wrong, but at least to admit they were wrong. And of course, we know that neither of those are going to happen. But I do anxiously
McCain going to apologize for his war vote.
Anxiously await the moment when McCain demands that Obama admit in a debate that he was wrong about the surge, and that'll be good fun.
Well, it'll be good. Particularly, we'll see what the state of Iraq is by the time those debates come along.
Yes,
if that's
we will.
going to be a sensible thing for McCain to say.
They scheduled elections for October 1st, which should be right around debate time. So it'll be a great event.
Excellent. And so, nothing else of note off of the blogger call?
No, it was largely a 30-minute waste of time.
I'm sure they're never like that normally.
No. I mean, you've been on them. I'm sure you can sympathize.
I've stopped doing these conference calls in general, but I don't think Obama does a weekly blogger call.
That's true.
And it would probably be smart if he did. Again, I think he could use additional volunteer truth squatters going forward. And if bloggers felt more invested in his campaign, I would imagine they would do that. And that level of outreach, not that there's zero. I mean, I think Obama's done a lot of interesting things on the internet in total. It's just in the progressive blogosphere community, there's been less of that, and I think less truth squatting help. And right now, I think you're seeing, because you're starting to see more attacks bubble up now, bloggers who have been skeptical of Obama and not enthralled with the rhetorical strategy that he has. There's a little bit of a, see, I told you so tone that, any one of you people who thought that these attacks wouldn't come, here they're coming. Now, I don't think really even the most diehard Obama supporter thought they wouldn't come. But now it's more of just, sort of get ready for the ugliness is kind of the tone right now. And again, more of a detached observation than let's now get in the trenches and fight these things back. But I imagine once the nomination is fully settled, bloggers will get to that point. But it's still notable that they're not fully there yet. Yeah,
I mean, you speak in generalizations, but some more than others. I mean, Marcos is definitely 100% Obama now.
Absolutely, Daily
right.
Co's. I mean,
Matt Stoller, who has been a longtime critic of Obama's rhetoric, has been more willing to defend him. Bowers was there before he was, but you're right. There still are the Taylor Marshes of the world that still have some anti-Obama feelings.
Well,
to
her
deal
blog
with.
has become squarely for Clinton
Right.
and fervently anti-Obama.
Right.
I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about more.
Well, no, I'm even saying with her, she will eventually get over it and become a fervent Obama supporter by the time we're near October 1st.
We will see. But I think there are other blogs that are just that have been more neutral, and because of that, I think there are times where there's been incoming to Obama. They probably could have used the help and didn't get it. Now, granted, he's managed to do just fine without that help, but I think in a general election, you use all the help you can get.
Very true. And I think we can end it there, Bill.
Excellent. Always great to talk to you.
Talk to you in a couple weeks.
Take care.
Bye.